Thank you so much for joining me today on this webinar where we're talking about Spooky2 presets. Obviously, presets are a core part of the Spooky2 software, so they have been discussed previously. It's just that I don't think there's been a sort of dedicated webinar on just presets. And I think, if you know how to use a presets, then it really helps you, especially when you're getting started. So I'd really love to know how many of you are beginners to Spooky2? How many? Yeah. Okay, lots of beginners. How many of you have been using it for a while and consider yourselves either experts or intermediate level? Right, okay. Yeah, so this is more kind of geared towards a beginner level, but hopefully, just like last time, I did get feedback that even though some people were not beginners, they still found value in the webinar. So if you are here and you're not a beginner, then hopefully you'll still get something out of it. Again, if you have anything you want clarifying, or if you want me to go over something again, then do let me know in the chat. And at the end, what I want to try and do again today is take some live calls from you. So, I can unmute anybody who wants to talk at the end and we can have a little chat, but I will have to go through the questions first. And I usually get so many questions that by the time I'm done with all the questions, there's not usually a lot of time left over to do a kind of chat at the end with you live, but I will try my best and I'll try to go through this as fast as possible. There is a lot to get through, but obviously I don't want to go through it so fast that you can't keep up. So I'll make sure that you're keeping up with me. If I'm going too fast, then just let me know to slow down. If I'm going too slow, you can tell me to, speed up a bit. So just keep me posted about how well you're learning while I'm doing this webinar. Okay. Right, so what I want is for you to feel clear, calm, and confident to using presets by the end of this webinar. Okay. Right, I'm not going to go over this again, so don't get overwhelmed. This is just my journey. It's just a summary there, but I'll just spend a minute or two on this slide, not more than that. So my journey is only because I had some questions at the end during the last one about, what to have a PhD and etc. So I thought I'll just quickly touch on my credentials, etc. right now. So I have quite a strong academic background. I have a BSc in biomedical sciences. I also have a master's at MRes in tissue engineering and regenerative medicine. And I also have a PhD in cell biology. So I have a really long academic career, you can say. But then after that, I went into biotech and I worked there for several years. So after doing that, I sort of left my career last year. And since then, I've been sort of pursuing my interests, which are more in the alternative health space. But I do have other interests as well, like I love gardening and exotic plants and things like that. And I have many hobbies. I love the outdoors. I love nature. I love everything Spooky2. I have an interest in emotion code healing, sort of emotional well-being and all of those things. So there are many things that I've spent my time on. I've also been spending time learning languages. So I've been really busy. But I've also been making sure that I'm keeping on top of my learning and my progress with Spooky2 as well, because there's always something that we can learn. And obviously, Spooky2 is a company that's always sort of coming up with new and interesting equipment. They've recently launched a line that's not under the umbrella of Spooky2, it's under Aha Halo, which is a sister company, which has been really intriguing as well. And I've been using that. So I've been learning about that and also how I can best use that. So we won't talk about that here though, because that's not relevant to Spooky2. But so yeah, this is a timeline of what I've been up to during my career and how I've ended up where I am. It's just because, there's been a mix of personal and professional insights that I've had where I realized that alternative medicine has a lot to offer in terms of true healing that can heal the root causes of your illnesses and your conditions and disease. So that's how I ended up here. It was just so fascinating. And I just felt that whichever direction I moved to, I ended up coming back into this space. So what we'll cover today is presets. What is a preset? Let's start with a definition. And then we'll talk about the delivery modes of the presets and how you can know which one to use and how to optimize your experience with various delivery modes of Spooky2 equipment. I want you to feel confident. So we'll go over choosing the right preset and also some common beginner mistakes and what we can learn from those. So you don't have to make the mistakes to learn from them. You can learn also from the insights that I share with you today. And then we will also go over troubleshooting and advanced tips. I'll quickly walk you through the software itself. So we'll do a live demo and I will talk you through, I'll show you the different presets and how you can use them. Obviously, we have limited time here. There's only 2 hours that we have for this webinar. So I have to fit everything within this time frame, but hopefully you'll have a really good overview and then you'll know which one to choose, which equipment to use with it and how you can use it, how to get started. And you'll realize that once you get started, then it's quite easy then to just carry on. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to get started and getting your head around sort of the first steps to take. But once you take the first steps, then it becomes really easier to build on afterwards. And it becomes quite self-intuitive as well to know what to do and how to learn more and where to go to learn more, where to get support. So that's what we will be discussing also, the further support options that you have, and then we'll also have a Q&A session. So why use Spooky2? That's the most important thing. If you're using something to get better, you need to have your why, like why you are doing this in the first place, so that you know what you want to get out of it. So you want probably an enhanced quality of life. You probably want to feel well all the time so that you can do all the things that you want to do, because health is wealth, right? So if you use Spooky2 to tackle a specific condition, or even if you're just using it to maintain general well-being or like a health MOT, then you want to use this to help to maintain that or help to reach that position. So that could be your why. Sometimes there is not a one-size-fits-all approach, and often that's the case actually, and that's why personalized care and support goes a long way. If you can find something that works for you and you do it consistently over time, you can get really good results. And also I have mentioned holistic healing because, I think what's really important to remember also is that using Spooky2 is not the only thing that you can do. It is a holistic healing approach. But on top of that, you do need to make sure that you are also doing exercise regularly, that you're sleeping well, you've got good, sort of self-hygiene habits like this, and you're also eating well, you're drinking plenty of water, and you're not doing what I did, which is, a few days ago I had my birthday and I indulged in too much party food, and I feel like I'm still suffering the consequences since then. But I'm going to go back. I've already started going back into my healthy regimen again. But sometimes if you take a detour like that, it can throw you off track. So it's really important to be disciplined and dedicated. And also, this is a good place for me to mention that, disclaimer, this is not medical advice. None of this is medical advice. This is just education, and I'm sharing this for educational purposes only. So if you do have any health-related questions, then please feel free to speak to your general practitioner about it. And, you could be doing them some good because maybe they've never heard of Spooky2 before. And so from what you learned today, you can maybe share it with them and tell them what this is all about. So that can be another why. These are the whys that I've been telling you. Another one can be that you want increased convenience and flexibility in maintaining your health. Because, last time I did a webinar on the remote, and do you remember how I said that the remote can be used wherever you are, so you're not tied down to a machine. It's a great way of maintaining health and to also remotely treat yourself while you are in a different country, while you're on travels, or etc. It's just a lot more convenient, and it's very flexible because you're not even having to take a tablet to look after yourself. You're not tied down to any equipment. It just makes things so much easier. So a Spooky2 preset is your ready to go wellness session. So a preset in the software is a pre-configured package which contains not just frequencies, but all of the essential settings also for a complete session. So it's not just a program, but it's a lot more than that. So each preset contains the frequencies, how they are delivered. So for example, remote contact, it contains a waveform. So the characteristics of the electrical signal, for example, its shape, the shape of the wave, also the timing, the duration of the session, and the duration of the individual frequencies, repeats, how many times the frequencies are run, for example. And there are other crucial settings as well that are optimized for effectiveness. So essentially, it eliminates guesswork because you don't have to worry about any of these factors that make up a preset. You can just click a preset and then you can put your program in and click run, and it's as easy as that. So a program versus a preset. A preset is a complete ready-to-run session, which includes programs and all of the necessary operational settings. Think of it as a full recipe, not just an ingredient list, okay? So the crucial distinction is that a program is just a list of frequencies. And that makes it really easy to make this equipment personalized as much as possible. It's so versatile because you can have a program which has certain frequencies in it, just make one change to it, and then you can use that for another function, or you can use that with all the different modes that are available because you have the frequencies in the list. So this will make more sense once I go on to the live demo, and I can show you what I mean by that. But it's much easier to have that distinct section for presets and then a distinct section for program. And also, programs can be incorporated, and they often are incorporated within the preset. So you can separate it, or you can have it all together. So this is what I mean by understanding presets by delivery mode. Spooky2 offers various modes to deliver frequencies, which are each suited for different needs and hardware setups. Presets are designed specifically for these modes, okay? So you have, now everything will look very similar in terms of the frequencies can be exactly the same across all the different delivery modes. So you might have, for example, terrain. Terrain will have the same frequencies, whether it's being delivered by scalar or whether it's being delivered by plasma or by remote. But the other factors, the other components are going to be different. So you might find that for central, there are some additional settings that you won't have for the remote, for example. Even if the frequencies are the same, the other settings will be changing to be specific for that particular mode of delivery. So these are the various types of delivery modes that you have with Spooky2. You have cold laser, which is on the far left. So this is an image of the cold laser wrist. But you also have the ones that, I don't know if you've seen them, that you can put in your nostrils or you can put in your ears. They're called the twin. So they're like two sort of buds, the white wires that you can put into your nose or your ears, for example, or on meridian points. So that's cold laser. And then PMF is like this. So this is a coil. You have to make sure that when you use this, the BN side, there's a label on one side that says BN. So you have to make sure that that's touching your skin. That's the side that touches your skin. And so you can use PMF. I mean, you don't have to use this just on your skin. You can even use it for imprinting. If you want to imprint water, for example, you can use this PMF coil to do that too. But yeah, I mean, it's just so versatile. There's so many things you can do with this equipment. And that's a whole webinar on itself as well, how to use the hardware, different kinds of hardware. So contact, this is the TENS pads or the hand cylinders, which I've not shown in a photo here, but you can get these silver rods that are hand cylinders. So you can hold them in your hand, or you can even do a detox foot bath with them. So you can put one of the rods inside the foot bath, and then the other one you can hold in your hand, and you can have a detox foot bath doing that. So that's also amazing, and that comes under contact. Then you have Plasma Central. So this is the most powerful equipment that Spooky2 offers. This especially this bulb here, which is the Fanatron tube. So there are actually two bulbs that come with the Plasma Central. You don't have to buy both, but if you do buy both, then they're useful for different applications. Run a session for that, so targeting that specific area. Whereas the longer tube, which is a plasma tube, so this is called the Fanatron, then there's a longer plasma tube. And that one you would have to place across your whole body for like a whole body effect. So it covers a larger region, basically. So this one's like more focused, more localized. That one's for more broad application. And then you have remote, as I covered in my last webinar. This one is for non-contact use. You don't have to sit near it. I mean, it's funny how this is named actually, because contact, you could say that plasma is contact, you could say PMF is contact, and cold laser is also contact. But contact, when it's used in Spooky2, is usually used to refer to the TENS pads on the cylinders, okay? And then we have scalar as well. So scalar is a box like this. There are actually two boxes. So there's a transmitter box and then there's a receiver box. This is all a lot of information, by the way, so you don't have to remember all of this. Remember, all of this information is also going to be on the website. What I want you to really focus on is what presets are and how to use them. And that part is really simple. So just remember that. I just want you to take that away. This part is more kind of giving you background and knowing what the equipment is, especially for those of you who are completely new and don't know what the equipment is. So that's why I'm touching on this briefly, but don't be overwhelmed, because it takes time to understand all of this, to become familiar with all of this. Please don't feel overwhelmed, okay? So for scalar, there are two boxes, okay? And one is a transmitter box, another is a receiver box. You basically sit in between the two boxes and you can receive the scalar energy that's being transmitted between the two boxes. So that's what that one is. And again, there are presets that you can select to use this as well. Okay, so here's just a quick summary of what the remote and contact modes are. So we're going to go through all of the different kinds of delivery modes and just do, a quick summary of what they are. So a remote mode is non-local delivery using DNA samples. Okay, so you can use hair, fingernail clippings, for example. Sorry, just one second. Okay. And then a key benefit is that you have true 24/7 convenience. As we mentioned before, there are some things I'm going to be repeating just because I learn best when things are repeated. So I'm going to be repeating a few things just to help you to learn a little better. I hope that helps. And then contact mode is where you get direct electrical signals through Spooky2's TENS pads, hand cylinders, and then you also can get gloves, socks, wristbands. They have a set, it's called the contact kit. And in that you can also get, gloves, socks, wristbands that have these nodes for application of contact. So this is usually not well known, so that's why I've added it here. So you know that the TENS pads and cylinders are not the only two options, but you do have these other options as well. So the key benefit of using contact mode versus remote mode is that it's faster, it's more localized, and is often more intense in its response. It's excellent for acute conditions, pain relief, or targeted issues. So remote mode is more for chronic issues and general wellness, but contact mode is really good for acute conditions, and especially because you're going to be tied down to the machine. So it can just make it a little bit easier to access the immediate effects with this. And then cold laser mode is gentle, non-invasive light energy, which is applied to specific areas of your body. And the key benefit of that is that it supports tissue regeneration, pain reduction, and inflammation management. Is often used for localized healing. So this is kind of doesn't penetrate as deeply into the body as some of the other modes like scalar and plasma. This doesn't go as deeply, but And I think even contact will go more deeply than cold laser. But it's good for, say, if you have an issue with your tooth, or if you have a skin issue, or if there's some problem more on the surface level of your body, then cold laser works really well. And even if you have problems with your sinuses, or if you have an ear infection, for example, then this can work really well for that. And then PMF works by generating pulsed magnetic fields, electromagnetic fields, for deeper tissue penetration. And the benefit of using this one is that it can promote cellular repair, it reduces pain and inflammation, and improves circulation. And it's also effective for deeper musculoskeletal issues. Now, plasma mode is high power, the most powerful machine that Spooky2 has on offer. It's an advanced delivery system utilizing plasma tube technology, and it's extremely powerful. Broad spectrum application is often used, although when I say broad spectrum, it's not, if you're using the Fanatron, then it's very targeted and specific. It's often used for severe or persistent conditions where maximum energy delivery is desired. So this is usually the one that's recommended for the more serious health conditions. Scalar mode utilizes scalar waves thought to be non-Hertzian, non-linear, and capable of carrying information. Spooky2 scalar units create a static scalar field. So unlike other types of waves, this is a static field, and it can be modulated by frequencies from a generator. The key benefit of this is that it promotes deep relaxation, rebalances energy fields, and allows for the transmission of frequencies in a subtle and pervasive manner. It can be used for pure scalar delivery, molecular imprinting. So you can also put things like crystals or water or other things, jewelry, for example, in the field. And you can also use it for Rife scalar. So there are actually 3 modes in which you can use the scalar equipment. So it can be used either for the pure scalar, where you don't need a connected computer or generator. You just prop up the boxes, and then the field that is produced after you tune the equipment is just pure scalar field, and that itself can be healing. But if you want to use programs, like certain programs on it, you can also do that with the connection of a computer or just the generator if you're using it in standalone mode. Or you can even use it by molecular scalar. So that's when you put something like a substance such as essential oil or something in the field so that you can get the benefits of that particular thing to your body. This is ideal for deep energetic healing, meditation, general wellness, and supporting the body's natural healing mechanisms in a gentle way. It's unique in its ability to carry information from substances placed in the field. Right, so before we move on, can you please tell me if you need anything clarifying so far? Let's have a look. No, you're understanding. Great. Yeah, like I said, there is a lot of information, but you can access this later as well. This webinar will be available on YouTube and also a few other places, which I will list at the end of the presentation. So you'll have access. With the wrist cold laser, does it matter which wrist? Yes, it depends on the application. It depends on what you're using it for. So yes, it can matter which wrist, what programs are good for the detox foot bath. I'll try and go over that. I'll try and go over that question, Jun, about the detox foot bath when we go over the presets, because it's in one of the presets. Yes, that's correct. Thanks, Michael, for reminding me. Yes, with scalar, you can also use a harmony. I actually have that. I don't use it very much, so that's why it wasn't on my mind. But yes, you can also do that. So you can connect an additional piece that you can get with scalar, and it's called a harmony. And what that will do is it will transmit music or any sounds that you want from, say, your phone through the scalar field as well. I have used it a few times for that, and that is another nice application of it. Does the PMF device have to be bought separately, and can it be used with a beginner generator? It depends what you're buying. So if you're buying a kit which the PMF is included, I remember that I bought one which had the PMF in it, like it was included as part of the gift, the kit, sorry. So if it's included, then you don't need to buy it separately. If it's obviously not included, then you do need to. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to use a bot, then I would probably just use the one on the Spooky2's own website, and then just verify the information through groups. But we'll go over that later. Bought the beginner package, did not have, can it be used with a small generator? Sorry, Jill, I'm not sure. Can you explain what frequencies on the scalar tuner do which? Jill, I need you to please rephrase that question. Can you explain what frequencies the scalar tuner do? Okay, so these questions are more about the individual pieces of equipment, which I'm not going over today. That's not the focus of today's session. So can you please put these in the Q&A box? Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Right, let's move on. Right, choosing your mode. Always select the mode that best aligns with your current hardware. What equipment do you have available? Most people that are watching will not have all of the equipment, so you need to think about what equipment you have and what is your wellness goal. All of these things need to align, you see. So all these 3 points need to align for you to have the best experience with your Spooky2 equipment. So you need to think about, what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve general wellness? Are you trying to tackle a specific condition? Are you trying to do something else with it? What is your wellness goal? Have that clear in your mind first. And what's your comfort level? If you're a complete beginner, then you want to start with a preset that's all done for you. And that's easy for you to start with, and just click start, and you can get going and see how that works for you. Like I said, in a previous webinar, terrain is usually the most recommended, an essential program preset that is the one that beginners start with once they get the Spooky2 equipment. I'm not saying that if you don't run terrain, you won't get any benefit. You will still get benefit even if you're not running terrain to begin with. But by running terrain, it just makes your experience with this equipment better, because you're sort of clearing out things from your body so that you can do some healing after. So, I mean, detox, the process of detox is very healing anyway. So terrain will help you to achieve that. It will help you to get kick-started with your healing process. But then if you're targeting a specific thing like a parasite or a bacteria or virus, it will just help to reduce the toxic burden that you're starting with in the first place, so that it can do that better. So I would start with terrain when you first get the equipment if you can. If not, then you can start with another preset if you prefer, and see how you get on with that. Okay, so selecting the ideal preset is key to a positive Spooky2 experience. So let's go through these points in a bit more detail. So when you're defining, let me see, what are your wellness goals? If anyone wants to share, you don't have to be specific with it. You can just say that you're targeting a specific condition or general wellness, for example. But let's see, please share in the chat box. What are your wellness goals? Okay, liver, SIBO, yeah, migraines. Okay, yeah, detox, yeah. Yeah, okay. Wow, we've got lots of varied answers there. So all of you have different goals, different wellness goals. So you want to obviously keep this in mind when you're getting started with Spooky2 and selecting presets to begin with. These are your goals. After you've done terrain, then, for example, thyroid, diabetes are the focal points for your searches within the software. Okay. So something like, thyroid, diabetes, which are some of the examples that you've given, these are chronic issues. So in this, I would think, okay, I would want to have a remote working on that. I would want to have 24/7 wellness for that specific condition. I'd want to have frequencies running on it all the time because it's a chronic condition. So because that's chronic, it keeps coming back. If it's acute, like you've got a broken leg, for example, or suddenly you've had a rash appear, which you've never had before, and it's just a temporary thing, then you can use contact for that, or you can use cold laser for that, for example. But with the chronic things, the things that just keep coming back or that persist for many years or months, then I would say, okay, I need to make sure I have a remote so that I can have something working on this, even while I'm away from the equipment. So for those sorts of conditions, I would pick remote, and I'll make sure I have a remote. If you have a chronic condition and you want to work on it and you don't have a remote, then I would think, okay, let's buy a remote. And the remote kit is actually the cheapest one. I think how much was it? It was like $150 or something the last time I checked, for a remote kit. So that's the remote, a Spooky Boost, and I think it comes with the XM generator. So it's $150, which is really accessible and affordable for most people. You don't have to buy the more expensive things to begin with. You can just start with the remote. And especially if it's a chronic condition that you are concerned about, or even if it's for detox, then I would also recommend remote again, because the 11-day terrain protocol is quite a long one. So you can't stand by the machine for 11 days in a row. That's not possible. So again, I would use remote for that. Okay. So choose a mode that you are most comfortable setting up and running. Okay, so here again, I've got a table with wellness goals that you might have. So you might be able to categorize your goal into one of these categories, whether it's pain relief, whether that's acute pain or chronic pain, muscle soreness, for example, inflammation-related pain, whether it's acute conditions, like we've said, injuries, sprains, short-term ailments, whether it's a chronic condition, like many of the ones that you have listed in the chat box are chronic conditions, whether it's detox, to encourage natural detox processes in the body, emotional wellness can be another application of this equipment. You might want to alleviate stress, anxiety, emotional imbalances, for which there are also many presets. It might be spiritual wellness, balancing the body's bioenergetic field, clearing negative energies. There are actually programs or presets in there to do that, to work on negative energies as well, and to also work on chakras and balancing your energy fields. And then there's immune support too, so you can enhance your immune system and fight infections with this equipment. So these are probably where the majority of the wellness goals are going to fit into one of these categories. So the next thing you need to consider is your sensitivity level. If you're sensitive, some people are really sensitive to energy healing, and if you're one of them, and you just don't feel right as soon as that machine gets started on you, then you might want to go for a low power option. So for example, with terrain, there are options available to go for a low power. So you can go for what's called a BEM preset, BEM1, or you can go for the 2.5 volt option for the terrain. And then it actually does say low power. So you can go for the low power, you can reduce the voltage and see how you go. And you can also just pause and let yourself recover and then carry on afterwards if you feel that it's too much for you and you're quite struggling to handle it. And that can happen if you've got, say, too much of a toxic burden in your body, and suddenly if your toxins are starting to eliminate and it's too much for your body to handle, or your body is not used to it, then you might not feel so well. You might get these Herxheimer reactions, symptoms, or other symptoms that may not fit into Herxheimer, but they're still not comfortable. So then you can pause, or you can stop and start on a later day. Just listen to your body. You can always increase intensity later if needed. I would always start with little rather than too much. Start with little if you're new to Spooky2, and then you can always increase the intensity and increase the number of remotes, for example, or increase what you're doing later on as you get more used to and accustomed to using this equipment. So we've already mentioned the terrain protocol. Another one is the daily wellness preset, which is also another one that's recommended. It's one that many people, including myself, keep on a loop for many months at a time. I keep it running on remote, and it's one of the presets that's in the software as well. You can do this on remote if you just want to set it and forget it, or you can even have it on contact, or you can do and/or. I'm not saying that you have to do one over the other. Sometimes you can do both together. And these are great for general well-being, energy, and balance. So let me just have a look at the chat to see if there's anything I need to go over. Should we take binders? Yes, especially if you're doing detox, but generally, yes. Because sometimes you can be running a program that you think, there have been so many interesting stories that I've seen. Like sometimes people will run a program for something and it might not help that thing, but it helps something else. Or sometimes they'll run something and it starts to give them a Herxheimer reaction. So clearly it's detoxing them, even if it's not a terrain protocol. It might be something else that's causing them to detox. And then to eliminate those toxins, I mean, obviously if you're targeting infections, then you can expect detox happening because you're effectively targeting that specific pathogen. Then if that happens, then definitely increase the amount of water that you're drinking, and do try to reduce the junk food and anything that is toxic for your body. Just reduce your exposure to it. Even things like perfumes, as innocent as they seem, they can also contribute towards that toxic burden. So we need to be careful with what we're breathing, what we're consuming, with what we're exposed to, and even emotionally, like you just try to relax yourself as much as possible, especially when you're going through a detox. Just avoid emotional toxicity as well as much as you can. I think that's often not mentioned enough, although there is much more awareness to that now than there used to be. But that's definitely important to do as well. We want to make sure that we are making it as easy for our bodies as possible to clean out the things that are not part of us. we want to make it as easy as possible. So detox is usually a really important aspect of that, especially before starting a killing preset. You want to clear the terrain of your body first as much as possible. So definitely try and do a detox. And I think I've heard John White say this. He says that start small to big. So get rid of the you don't want to get rid of the bigger organisms and then release loads of toxins that are inside. So if you start detoxing first and get rid of the chemical things, the metals in your body, other things that can be dampening down your immune system and contributing to an imbalanced gut microflora, for example, then try and target those things first, so that when you start to target other things, and it's easy to eliminate them out. So the reason, like I said, is because you want to avoid those Herxheimer reactions. You don't want to overwhelm your body with too much all at once. And that's why it's a good idea to start with detox several days to weeks before you prepare your body for detoxification. So several days to weeks before you start doing more intense killing presets. Okay. The second common beginner pitfall can be incorrect mode usage. So if you're not taking care to look at what's in those brackets next to the presets and you use a remote one when you're actually trying to use contact mode, then it's just not going to work properly at all. And you could even damage the equipment by doing that. The preset settings are optimized for a specific delivery method. So if you mix them, you'll result in ineffective or no therapy at all. So always double check that the chosen presets mode matches your connective hardware and desired delivery method. I always double check everything just to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, because you want to make sure that the effort you're putting in pays off and your equipment is functioning optimally. So definitely check and double check things like settings and especially that the remote matches. If it's a remote that you're using, that it says in brackets R. If it's contact, it will say in brackets C. If it's plasma, it will say in brackets P, etc. So you need to check that. Also, not using the hardware properly. So sometimes I think the most common things that I've seen come up is when people use plasma, for example, and the Fanatron tube, they're not placing the Fanatron in the right place. So you know how it has those discs that are inside? One is like that, is at an angle, and there's another one that's straight. This angled one should be facing you like this. Angled one should be facing you. So if it's not, then it's not going to work. Same with the TENS pads. If you're not putting them in the right place, if you're targeting a stomach issue, but you're putting the TENS pads on your legs, then it's not going to help you. So you need to make sure that the problem, the concern, the area of concern is between the TENS pads. Okay. So it's bad because it diminishes or negates the effectiveness of the frequency delivery when you're not putting those things on correctly or you're not using the hardware properly. So do refer to your Spooky2 manual or video tutorials for precise hardware setup and placement for your chosen mode. Ensure firm and correct contact. And you can also come to Spooky2 and ask for help, because they're there to help. They're very quick and responsive. So that's another thing that you can do. Okay, sometimes people expect instant results, and I think that's because some people do have instant results, but not everybody does. And I think most people do not have instant results. So, if you don't, then don't feel disheartened. It's just that that's the normal thing, that you won't have results straight away. You might feel a reduction. Say if you're doing contact mode for an acute problem, for pain, for example, you might get a reduction with contact mode, but it might not completely eliminate it. Don't give up. If it's helping, then continue doing it, and over a period of time, and it should help to completely go. But you have to do it for some time, believing that Spooky2 will provide immediate miraculous cures after just a few sessions might be a mistake. So it's important to set the right expectations. Frequency healing is a process, often requiring consistency and patience, especially for chronic issues. Focus on gradual improvements and long-term wellness. If you quit due to no immediate feeling or strong Herx reactions, then you might be missing out on some healing that you could be getting through doing this. If you have no feeling, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not working. Herxheimer reactions can often be a sign that your body is detoxing. It's part of the process, but not everybody has a Herxheimer reaction. And if you don't have a Herxheimer reaction, that doesn't mean it's not working. It most likely means that your body is handling the detox well. And so you won't be feeling symptoms. You won't feel anything. But you might notice after some period of time that you're generally feeling better. So if you're doing this for wellness or for general detox, you might feel that, yeah, actually, I feel better than I did a few months ago. And it might be because of this equipment. Understand that subtle changes are common. If Herxheimer reactions are strong, reduce the session duration, take breaks, or switch to a gentler detox preset rather than giving up. Insufficient hydration. Someone asked a question before also about binders. I would definitely recommend taking binders. Some binders that you can take are, for example, chlorella, activated charcoal, zeolite, MCP, which is modified citrus pectin, and drink plenty of good quality filtered water. Often, we think living in certain countries where you expect water to be really good quality. It's not always. I have a filter on my water, and where I live, the water is supposed to be good quality, but I do find that it's quite drying. It's water that does dry out the skin, so it's quite harsh, and I do filter it. I do make sure that I have something there so that I'm not always, drinking water straight out of the tap. I think it's just healthier. Some water has fluoride in it and other chemicals. Chlorine is often in water, you can smell it. So, we don't need that in our bodies. We don't need some of the toxic elements that end up in tap water, which are not detected, but are there. So definitely try and drink that. So drink filtered water if you can, because it's better for you. Or you can have, pure mineral water as well. That's another thing you can do. So yeah, water, drinking a lot of water. I think Spooky2 recommends about, what do they say? They said something like, I think 1.5 liters of water before midday if you're using the central for healing cancer. So they do ask you and recommend that you take a lot of water, and even add lemon or something like aloe vera to it to make it a little bit more hydrating. So a way that you can cultivate calmness and confidence in your journey is to take it one step at a time. And that's what I've been alluding to so far, that take it slow, don't overwhelm yourself and think you have to do everything at once. It's really overwhelming when you do that. And I know it's really easy to go into the groups and watch these webinars and think, oh my gosh, this is too much. But remember, you just have to take one step to begin with. And then feel proud of yourself for achieving that one thing that you've set out to do, even if that's just learning how to connect a generator to the computer, and you've learned how to do that, and you can do that, then that's progress. That's a step in the right direction. And then, the following day, you might want to learn how to connect the boost to the generator. So it's just these small steps that build up over time. And, one thing that I've noticed in my life is that if I don't start later, I regret it. And I think, oh, if only I'd started a year ago, then I would have actually been quite far along in my journey right now. If only I had a bit of patience. So sometimes that's just what we need, just a bit of patience and discipline. So take it one protocol at a time, focus to observe effects and manage reactions. Read the presets notes. So when we go into the software shortly, you'll see that there are notes that you can find next to the preset, and that will give you some insight as to what the purpose is of that preset, how to use it, its effects and the hardware, etc. You can also journal your progress, identify what works. This is something I wish I would do more of. But if you have the time and it's definitely a good thing to do, definitely a good thing to track progress. And rest and hydrate, essential for detoxification, healing and comfort. If you feel that you need to sleep more once you're detoxing, then sleep more. Just listen to your body, because you might need to. Your body probably needs that rest so that it can do what it's doing, and tackle the extra burden that it's now dealing with because you're going through a detox process. And I feel personally, I feel quite tired when I'm doing a detox. So I definitely find myself napping or sleeping a little more when I'm going through a detox process. Leverage the community and support. And if you need to, then take a breather. If you're frustrated, something's not working, then just step away from it. Take some, go outside, get some fresh air, then come back and contact Spooky2 or, ask somebody for help in the community, Facebook community. Right, so now we'll move on to the live demo. Before we do that, are there any comments or any questions that are related to what I've been showing so far? Yeah, that's good advice, Joy, to also make sure that your electrolytes are good. So make sure you're eating normally as you would to get those electrolytes as well in your system. Let's see. Can you run a detox and killing at the same time? Yeah, you can. And it's going to be a chemtrail. Chemtrail program. Don't know. Is there one in there? I'm not sure. I've never looked for that. I assume there isn't if you're asking that question, Xavier. Mm, mm, okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we'll move on. Is it safe for 10% kidney function? Um, Not sure about that actually. I mean, if your kidneys are not working and I would focus on healing the kidneys first before doing a detox. But why don't you speak to your doctor about this as well and see what they have to recommend? But yeah, I would not really, I wouldn't commit to a detox, no, if I have 10% kidney function. Is it better to use distilled water or spring water? You could, you don't have to drink distilled water regularly. You can drink spring water. Let's go to the software. All right, here we are. This is the Spooky2 software. This is how it should look. So you should have the presets tab on the left, far left. Sometimes when you first open the Spooky2 software, you might just see 4 tabs. If you see just 4 tabs, then you can go to Utils and click Toggle Advanced Features. Once you click on that, then you'll see all of these tabs, okay? So if you don't see as many tabs as I'm seeing here, then do that, and then you should see all of them. Now we're in the presets tab. So in the presets tab, you should see all of the presets that I see here. If you don't see this one, the DH experimental frequencies one, is because you have to install that separately, which you can do by going on the spooky2.com website, clicking on downloads, and you will find this one there, okay? So let's start with the top one there, biofeedback. Okay, so you can see that we've got, now I'm not going to go through the details of this because that's also a whole webinar on itself. I'm sure you can find a biofeedback, a webinar on biofeedback. I don't have the time because that's going to take me another 2 hours to go over that. But these are the different kinds of biofeedback that you can do. And you can then click on, for example, Generator X, which is usually a commonly used one. And then you can click on, this one's usually commonly used, General Biofeedback Scan. These, I think these 3 actually are the most commonly used, that one, which is a fast biofeedback scan, the General Biofeedback Scan, and the General Biofeedback Scan with baseline. So these often, I see people do this one with TENS pads. It's the most common one that I've come across, commonly used one. And I normally go for this one with a baseline just because I want it to be a bit more accurate, but it does take longer. And I've also seen that the time of the scan varies between people. So some people have the scan done within minutes, and for other people it takes, 40 minutes, 35 minutes. It can take a lot longer for some people. If you're concerned about how long it's taking, then just contact Spooky2 support and they can tell you if it's normal or if you need to check anything, especially if you're finding that it's consistently taking far longer than you would expect it to. Then you can contact them. And as you can see in brackets, it says C. So C is for contact. So now we know that if we're using TENS pads, this is what we're going to be selecting, the ones with the C in brackets. Okay. And then there are also a number of other programs that you can see. You've got Hunt and Kill, You've got refine programs and scan and run. You've got grade scan as well. So if you just wanted to, if you clicked on this one, and can you see here on the notes how much information you can find on the right-hand side? Can you see that? The notes on the right-hand side, there is so much information there that you can read, and it will give you some guidance as to what this is and how to use it. So if you were to do a grade scan, which you would do if you want to, say if I clicked on there, whoops. If I clicked on grade scan, and then I went to the programs tab, and then I clicked many of these programs. And sometimes what can happen is, I just add loads of programs. You know, this estimated total runtime, sometimes this can be too long. So if this is, you know, longer than 2 hours, for example, you don't want to be tied down for longer than 2 hours, then you can do the grade scan. You can do this grade scan. And then what that will do is it will give you the top hits that resonate the most, the best with your body. Then you can just save those. So it will come up with a, once you run it, it will come up with a list and they'll be checked. And then you can uncheck them. You can check just the top 10, click save, and then you can save that as, you know, biofeedback. Like I said, I can't demonstrate all of this now because it's too much, and this is a whole webinar on its own. But just to give you an insight, you know, some overview about this. So you can do that, and then it will give you the frequencies that you can run in just a half an hour session instead of, you know, 3-4 hours. It's just a lot quicker to do that. So that's one example of how you can use biofeedback. These other ones, like the ones that I said are really popular, commonly used, the fast biofeedback, these will just give you the frequencies that are the noisiest in your body. So the organisms that are in your body, or the, you know, the loudest noise makers in your body will come up as the top hits in that. Once you get that, you might want to do a reverse lookup if you want to see if there's any patterns in certain, you know, conditions coming up, but it's not a tool for diagnostics. So you don't necessarily have that condition, but it's just that if you're seeing something come up regularly, and or you're seeing that the same condition is coming up under many different frequencies, then I would probably pay a bit of attention to it and see what that could mean for me. So that's how that could be used. Or you don't even have to use reverse lookup at all. You can just pick, you can save what you get, and then you can then use one of the, say, remote or a different delivery mode to send those frequencies back to your body so that it can tackle whatever could be problematic in your body. So that's another way that you can use biofeedback. It's a very versatile piece of equipment. There's so much that you can do with it. So there is the scalar digitizer, which is another way, and Spooky2 Pulse, which is another one. And then you've got this one, COVID. So again, you've got different modes of delivery. So for the COVID-19 ones, you've got contact, plasma, and remote. So let's pick a different one this time. Let's go remote. So I've actually used all of these before on other people and myself. I don't know if I've used all of them on myself. No, I haven't. I've not used, because I've not had a COVID vaccine, so I've not used these ones on myself. But I've used, I think I've used this one on myself, the spike proteins one, and graphene oxide. I think I've used that one on myself too. And then when you do that, then you can go into settings. Once you've selected a preset, you can go into settings and you can see all the settings that come under that preset. As you can see here, you don't have to do anything to this at all. I've not needed to modify this, but if you're finding that is too much, it's, you know, you're sensitive to this kind of healing, then energy healing, then what you can do is you can reduce this. So you can reduce that to, for example, 2.5 volts. Yeah, you can do that. And then that will just reduce the some of the effect of it, some of the power. And then you go to Control tab, select the generator that you're working with, sorry. and then you click start, and then that will have incorporated your changes. You can also go into these other tabs as well to see what the settings are. System. Yeah, so make sure you have prevent computer hibernation on, this one. Have that one checked to make sure that your computer doesn't hibernate, especially when you're using the remote. And you might go away and come back and see that your computer's off. So you don't want that to happen. So do that, and also go into control panel and disable your computer sleeping. That's an additional step you need to do as well. But other than that, you don't really need to make any other changes. So let's go back to presets. Then you can see this one, like I said, it's available in contact. You've got some of the same ones there as well. So you've got graphene oxide there. You've got the spike protein programs here as well. And then we did that one already. Plasma. Plasma only has the graphene oxide remove out of these presets. That's the only one it has. And you can see how it's got P in brackets. Yeah. So these initials at the end, I believe these are the initials of the people that have generated the preset. And then this one, which is, for me, is the most interesting one. I actually really like this set of presets, the DH experimental frequencies, because they're just like, for someone who's just sort of interested in general well-being for the most part for themselves, which is myself. I find this really interesting because there are just so many things. I mean, not that it doesn't have serious condition presets as well, it does. You can see there it's got epilepsy, it's got HIV, AIDS, it's got various things that are, Alzheimer's, Crohn's. So it does have many things for the whole spectrum of health conditions, but it also has some very interesting general well-being stuff. And they do recommend that you start with the first 6 presets when you start using DH experimental frequencies. So they say run all of these one by one, or you can chain them into a preset, and you can have them all running. And I don't know how long it takes to do all of them. I can't remember, but maybe a couple of hours or a few hours maybe. So you can do all of those, and then you can move on to do other things from this list. So that's that one, DH experimental frequency. Again, that also had, like, let me just show you again. So this one also has various modes that you can use. And it also has a PDF, 2 PDFs with more information. And it also has information here in the notes again. So the way that this software is designed, it's really designed with the sort of user experience in mind. So if you're new to this, you can just spend a few days on this and get really familiar with it, and then it becomes much easier. So this is a DNA presets. You can see you've got bacteria there, COVID, cold. This is targeting the DNA of these organisms. So if we go into fungi, for example, click remote, then you can see a whole list of various fungi. And guess which one is a really common one? Candida albicans. This is a really common one, isn't it? So you can click on this one, and this one can effectively detox you of Candida albicans. But again, you'll probably have to run it for quite some time to get that effect. And you would also want to avoid sugar, because the more you do in your lifestyle approach, then the better the results. So if you still feed the Candida sugar and at the same time you're detoxing it, then that's a bit counterintuitive. Whereas if you if you remove the sugar source, because this likes to feed on sugar, then you're going to get better results. And if you're drinking lots of water as well, then you're going to be flushing it out of your body. So that is a good idea to do. But you've also got different kinds, other kinds of fungi. That's not the only one. So that's a form of detox as well. So this one is the laser one. I think it's the first time we've seen that in a list so far. So yeah, this is a cold laser one for fungi. So I guess if I were trying to treat ringworm, for example, then I'll probably see if I can find that one here and tackle that with laser. But yeah, this one targets the DNA of these organisms, helps to dismantle them, apparently. And then we've got diseases. So you might find, someone said diabetes before. I mean, this one's type 1, but that's there. Diabetes is there. I have seen SIBO as well. Someone mentioned SIBO. There's ringworm. I was talking about ringworm before. Yeah, that's there as well. If you can't find what you're looking for in the presets, then you can use the search tool here. Let's just go back. Okay, so you can search for, so for example, someone mentioned SIBO, and nothing's come up. Now, if I go to programs and put SIBO, something's come up. So now I know that there isn't a preset with this, but there is a program with this. So what I will do is I will go to here, the shell empty presets. Now, this is the only one, I believe, out of all of them, where you can add your own programs, okay, directly. So you can go into this one and say, for example, I want to tackle SIBO with remote. Then I click on that, and I might want to go on, well, I can do any really. I can do universal, square, H-bomb, or I might want to do killing or kill or heal, or yeah, let's go for kill or heal. Then go to this one, click this. And so I've now selected the SIBO program. Then go to control, click override generator, and then click the generator that you have connected to your delivery mode, and then click start. Okay, and now you can see that it's running because the dwell, which is a number of seconds, have elapsed. And you can also see that there. And you can also see the seconds going up there on the right where it says current preset duration and current chain duration. Okay. So you could just use killing for this one if you wanted to, because it is a bacterial overgrowth that we're targeting. So you might want to just click on one of the killing presets. I don't know why, but I normally gravitate towards the JW ones. Obviously, John White is the one who is behind Spooky2, so maybe that's why I do that. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you want to experiment with the others, you'll be fine to do that. I just prefer that one. And then I think somebody asked me about the foot bath. So if you want to do a detox foot bath, you can do it this way. You can select this one, and then it tells you what to do. So here are all the instructions about what to do in the notes area on the right. You can do the foot bath from there. So with the shell empty presets, it just gives you a lot more flexibility in the sense that, you know, if you want to, say, for example, you want to run numerous programs, then you can do that with this because you can add as many programs as you want and have them running. The only thing is that if you are using remote, then the recommendation is that you don't do more than 4 hours worth of programs on one generator at a time. That's a general recommendation for that. I mean, you could choose to do more if you want to, but they generally recommend, and I say they, I don't think that's from Spooky2. I'm not sure if it's from Spooky2, but I've seen it in the, I think the Facebook group, I've seen that recommendation come up. So I try to limit it to 4 hours. I think it's just about, you know, the number of repeats that you get of a particular frequency in a day. And maybe that will kind of achieve a good number of frequency repeats in a daytime if you keep it to 4 hours, versus if you keep it to, you know, if you set it to something like 12 hours worth of programs, then each frequency will only get 2 times to repeat in one day. So that's why I think that's recommended. Right, so now let's go back to detox, because we did DNA, we've done shell, but then let's go back up here, go to detox. So this is where you find terrain. So if you want to look at the protocol, you can do. This is a PDF. You can do that there, and then you can click on remote. And now this is what I meant by low power. You know how you can see there? There is actually a version of the software where you can get BEM, which is even more low power than these. But I don't have that one, but you can get that one if you contact Spooky2. I think they'll be able to help you with that. So another one you can also look at here is detox maintenance, which is recommended when you're not running terrain, or when you are running a protocol like the cancer protocol. Then you might want to have this one running on a generator after you've done the terrain part of it. It's not one that I have running, to be honest, but if I needed to, I would. So you click on that one. You can see these are the programs within this one. So it's got toxins throughout the body, toxins in the kidneys and liver. So if you have kidneys problems, then you can look at the kidney specific programs in this, kidney support, and you can run that for your kidneys to help make them stronger. Then we've got the environmental tab. I remember running through this briefly in a previous webinar, but this can be used if you have problems regarding mold in your house, or if you have fleas, dust mites. You can take a sample and you can put them in the remote inside the sticky sticker that you get, and you can target them that way. Again, there was a guide for that one too. Did you see that one? There's a guide here, PDF guide. So there are guides for a lot of these presets, which is super helpful. Right, so this is a frequency sweep. Older clock, if you're familiar with that, then that's also a possibility. We have spectrum sweeps, various other sweeps that can be done, a Rife harmonic sweep. And then it will tell you some information about this too, that the Rife harmonic sweep was designed to target Rife's original frequencies given for these various pathogens, BX, BY, etc. And it tells you what the method is and how to do that. So that's another one. And then we're going to heal. I'm going to click scalar this time. So in heal, for scalar, you've got 2 preset choices. You can do the essential micronutrients one, which has various trace minerals and nutrients that can be beneficial to you. So you might want to, for example, imprint this into water, or just directly transmit this to yourself by lying in between the boxes. Or you can do Spooky2 scalar healing for scar healing and general healing. So that is another option. Miscellaneous is quite interesting because you've got various things here. If you want to make colloidal silver, you can do that here. There's a colloidal silver set that you can get from Spooky2, and with that one, you can use that as like an antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral, etc. You can, spray it on your face, use it internally, use it on your plants, etc. There's so much you can do with this. So if you have this equipment, you can make colloidal silver, and the steps to do that will be here, but also on YouTube. There are videos on how to do this. You can also test your remotes are working. If you don't see blinking lights, which is sometimes commonly asked question, then you can click this one and it will blink. So you'll know that your remote is working or not. This one has L in brackets, which is cold laser. Cold laser, just checking that you're awake. So yeah, this one you can use for acne, for example, or ear infection. And then you've got nootropics. That's really interesting, isn't it? I wasn't clicking this. It's doing that thing again where I click on something else and right. So here we are, remote. And yeah, and you can see you've got things like black seed oil, cat's claw, coenzyme Q10, ginseng, maca, tyrosine, all kinds of things in there. So let's go back to miscellaneous. Okay, so here you've got Bach flowers. Wow, isn't that interesting? You've got crabapple in there too. I'm seeing lots of crabapples grow in the area that I live in, so if I wanted, I could even get it off Spooky2. That's an abundance of crabapples in all forms. Okay, now let's go back to this one. Morgellons and lime. Wait, let me just check in the chat. I've not had a look for a while. I've never used the nootropics. Yeah, I'm not sure if I have either, but it's good to know that it's there, right? Okay, don't think there's anything specific. I think I answered that question about where to download DH already, which is on spooky2.com, downloads tab. It's there. Okay, right. So next. Yeah, this one is quite a complex protocol, Morgellons and Lyme, but it's also good. I mean, there's a full guide here. Yeah, if you're struggling with Lymes, then this is really recommended. It's quite a long program. I believe it's like, I don't know, 2 months long or something like that. It's quite a long one if you do the full one. And you can see just how many presets are within the preset. So all of these are presets that are within the preset category. Anything that shows up in this box is a preset. Anything that shows up in this box next to it on the right is the programs for that preset. So there are presets within presets, and then there are programs for things like Morgellons, which is more complex, and cancer, which is obviously complex. So that's why that is the case for those ones. And then radionics, I don't have this equipment, but if you do, then you can do some really cool things with that too. Like manifestation is like trending right now, isn't it? And then you've got plant growth, which is amazing. I don't think I need that one. My plants seem to grow out of control. So I'm not going to do that. Shell empty presets. We've been through that one. Okay, and then user. So any presets that you make yourself, then they will save here. They will save in this one. If you make any yourself. So say if you went into here and you made, like you clicked on one of these and then you selected a program and then you added the programs there, then you could come back here and you can click save and it will save. You'll then put in a new title and it will save into this. It will save there. That's another quick way to get to it. Or you could go back to the home tab and you can click user from here. And then this will also save in the Spooky2 folder within your C drive. So any presets that you make will save there too. So you can do backups if you want to, or you can send them to yourself, send them to another computer from there. So I think that's about all that I want to show you here. So we can go back to the presentation. Is there anything you want me to clarify from what you've seen so far before I go back to the presentation? Oops, just 1 second. Morgellons and Lyme. Yeah, there is there'll be a dedicated webinar. There is a dedicated webinar for that, for Morgellons and Lyme. So please watch that webinar. Yeah. Okay. Right. So we're all good. Right. Let's go back to the presentation. Right. I'm just going to find that screen. Here we are. Okay. Right. Can you see my presentation? Yeah. Can you see my presentation? Yes. Okay. Great. So, whoops. Right. Just some quick troubleshooting. So if you can't find your generator, then go to Utilities and click Rescan Devices. Utils is called Utils in the software. Go to that and click Rescan Devices and ensure that all your connections are connected properly and connected to the computer properly. And then if that still doesn't work, then you can close the software, restart it. If that still doesn't work, you can restart the computer and make sure that your connections are on and working before the software is turned on. I find that if I turn the software on first and then put the generator on, it doesn't work. So I have to make sure that the generator is on first. Right, and also if you have tabs or options hidden in the software, again, just a reminder, I did show you this, but go into Utils and click Toggle Advanced. And then we found this one, the solution to the remote lights not blinking through the miscellaneous preset and that signal generator signal test to make sure that your remote is working. If you have a software glitch or is unresponsive, then just restart the Spooky2 software, turn it off. You might want to even turn off your computer, turn it back on, and then hopefully that should fix it. Now, the chain editor, which I touched on briefly, will be useful, which it could be quite useful for you when you want to run many presets in a row. Like, for example, we talked about the DH experimental presets. If you wanted to chain all of those together with the chain editor, you might be able to do it without. I'm trying to remember now if I've done it without, but some of them you don't actually need to, because if the repeat is set to something like 1, for example, then it will just go from one to the other. But if that's not the case, then you might have to edit the settings with the chain editor, and then you can change the repeat of that preset to 1. When you do that, then it will allow the presets to flow from one to the next. Okay, but don't worry about this one. This is not really beginner level. I just mentioned it here just so that you know that you can do that in the future. And there are dedicated videos showing you how to do this as well. It's a feature that combines several wellness presets into one session. You can set it and forget it, so it can be helpful for overnight or extended use. And it's useful once you're confident using standalone presets. So once you've tried presets and you know how to run presets, you know how to use the shell empty presets to make your own preset as well. Once you can do all of that, then this will be useful to learn next. You can find this in the presets tab. The button is there, and yeah, you would just save the file that you make and you can then run the change presets. And here are some titles of YouTube videos that you can search for in YouTube to find more information on Chain Editor. So you've got how to install Chain Editor, how to use Chain Editor, how to create a preset chain. So if you put these titles into YouTube, you'll see all of these videos there. They're short videos. They'll help you walk through every step from setup to customizing your own preset chains. Right, just a quick overview on safety and usage guidelines as well. Avoid if you are pregnant. This is still considered to be experimental equipment, and although it is safe, some people are sensitive to this. So do be wary if you are frail, you're weak, especially if you're very weak, or if you're pregnant, or if you have any of these sort of contraindications, and do take it slow and do consult your doctor first. It just helps sometimes to involve them because they can monitor you and check that you're okay. Side effects can be temporary detox symptoms or Herxheimer reactions, which I talked about before. These can be headaches, fatigue, tiredness, just general malaise, or it could be worse than that. It could be various other symptoms that are not mentioned here as well. But they are usually temporary and they do subside. But obviously, if it's anything concerning, if you're getting really swollen or your skin is turning blue, etc. If you have anything really concerning and worrying, then definitely go to speak to your doctor or go to A&E, accident emergency, or ER if you're watching from the USA. Always follow the user manual and start with the lower settings for gradual adaptation. So now you should be able to know what presets are, choose the right mode for you, define your goal and start gently, avoid common pitfalls, embrace patience and practice, and know where to find help and support. The last one, actually, I do have another slide for. So I don't know where I put that. I did have a slide for this. So there's a Facebook group, YouTube, as I mentioned before, Spooky2 Rife, that's the YouTube channel. So you can go there and they have Spooky2 various Facebook groups. You can also go to the website, spooky2mall.com. You can go there for more information. You can also contact support at Spooky2. You can also use a bot on Spooky2's website for quick technical questions. If you have questions on what is suitable for your health condition, then you might want to contact Spooky2 for support instead, because at least you're speaking to a human. And you can double check what you're reading through a bot on the website. You can also contact me. I'll leave my contact details at the end, so you can contact me if you want some more support, especially if you want some one-to-one coaching and how to use this equipment, then I can help you with that. You just have to send me an email and we can take it from there. And so you've got a lot of support. There are so many groups in Facebook as well, like messenger chats where you can go and speak to people live and you can ask for help. So those are all places, and you can also go to the Spooky2 forum, which I should have mentioned also. Spooky2 forum is another place where you can go and find answers to your questions. So there is a wealth of information out there. Before we move on to the quiz, actually, how are you feeling today? Do you feel that you're confident with all of these things, or what's your confidence level now with presets? Yeah, have you learned something? Have you not learned something better than before? Okay, that's great. Yeah, you're right, Monica. Yeah, I mean, I have to say this, it's a public presentation, so I have to say, go and speak to your doctor. But obviously, at the same time, I do believe that we should take ownership of our own health as well. Just don't put yourself in danger is what I'm saying, is don't put yourself in danger. And some people really do need to speak to a doctor. And if they do, then they should. So, but yes, I do understand the disillusionment with the medical system, because obviously they won't always understand, and most likely they won't even know what this is 99% of the time. So you'll have to explain to them what this is. Yeah, and to do that, you probably would want to speak to a bot on spooky2.com and say, if you were speaking to a layperson, how would you explain what Spooky2 is and how it can help? That's what I would do. All right, thank you so much, Joe. And thank you to everybody else as well who's appreciated this. The recording, it should be up within about another day on YouTube. So if you search for presets, Spooky2 presets, I'm going to title it something like that, then you should be able to find it. Oh, thank you very much, Monica. Great. So is there anyone who feels like they're not confident with what I've talked about in this presentation? Are there any pain points, any confusion, any points of confusion related to presets only, not about hardware, not about other things, but about presets? Now's your moment to ask before we go to the quiz. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, the recording will be up, like I said. I have a slide on that at the end as well. So we'll come to that in a moment. To chain the DH presets. Monica, if you go to the YouTube channel, let me just go back to the previous slide. And so presets and adding program. Yeah, I did, Joseph. So I said go to empty shell presets and add programs from there. Well, because this is more about presets, I didn't spend too much time on programs. I want to just stay focused on this topic of presets. But you can also go to, 1 second. Trying to go back a slide so I can show you. The titles for the person who asked, sorry, I didn't get the name, was it Monica? Someone asked me about the chain editor. So if you go on YouTube and you search these titles in YouTube, then you'll get some short videos under these titles that will show you exactly how to do it. Okay. Right, so let's go to the quiz now. Let's see how much we've learned. So question 1, what is a Spooky2 preset? Is it A? So put all the answers into the chat box for me, please. And then I'll tell you the right answer afterwards. Okay, what is a Spooky2 preset? Is it a single custom frequency? Is it 2, a ready-made frequency? Is it C, a saved session report? Or, sorry, or is it, I'm getting this issue again where the bottom bar, there we are, okay. The bottom bar keeps coming up of Zoom, or is it D? Oh no, I can't see it. Why is that happening? Is it D, a hardware power setting? I saw it. Okay, hopefully you got that. Sorry, that was a bit disjointed. It's just because I have a Zoom bar at the bottom that keeps coming up every 2 seconds. So I can't always see what B and D say. So please put your answers in the chat box. B was a ready-made frequency setup. Let's see what the answers are. B, fantastic. Wow. Everyone got that right. I've not seen a single wrong answer. Fantastic. That is great. Okay, let's go to the next question. Right. Where can you find presets in the Spooky2 software? Is it A, under the presets tab? Is it B, in the system tab? Is it C, only in the programs tab? Or is it D, on the XM generator? Yes, you all got it. That's it. Correct. It's under the presets tab. It's A. Well done, everyone. Okay, so the last question, which is, what's the main difference between killing and healing presets? Is it A, killing targets microbes, whereas healing supports balance? Is it B, killing is for emotions, healing is for pain? Is it C, healing always includes detox? Or is it D, there's no real difference? Fantastic again. Yes, the answer is A, that killing targets microbes, whereas healing supports balance. Amazing. You all got 100%. Oh, this is a tab for the further support. So this one on the top left, I was showing you the the guides that you can get the guides, as you know, when I was doing the live walkthrough, when I was showing you where you can get guides under a lot of the presets. So that's one place where you can get support. Then this one top right is an image of the chat, which you can get in Messenger after you've joined a Spooky2 group. There are many Spooky2 groups, like they have a separate one for Scalar, they have a separate one for Spooky2 success testimonials, and they have other one for radionics, and they've got lots of Spooky2 groups. So if you put Spooky2 into Facebook, then you should see various groups come up. And then you've got on the bottom left, that's a YouTube channel that you can get access to. Bottom right is the Spooky2 forum. So you need to register for that. And yeah, so that's what you've got, various sources of information and support. Now, the webinar replays, because I always get asked this question. So to access the recorded webinars and past events, you can find them at www.spooky2academy.com/events/event list. So you just go down and like this one, because it's a recent one, it's getting recorded now. So it should appear on the first page. So when you go to that, you'll find the title of this webinar, something presets, Spooky2 presets, and you should be able to find it that way. You can also go to YouTube and you can put Spooky2 presets. I actually do have a channel on YouTube where I put these presentations, and I'm a bit shy about my channel, so I don't normally share it, but you'll find it on YouTube. It's Sunny Sundas. You'll find it there tomorrow if you go there. And then, yeah, you can, so they're usually uploaded 2 to 3 days after, but I will upload it hopefully tomorrow. Normally what happens is Spooky2 will send it to me and then I just upload it onto my channel. Thank you so much for listening, for paying attention. If you have product inquiries, you can email support@spooky2mall.com. If you want a free PDF guide that I shared in the last webinar, because I saw a lot of people downloaded that, so I thought I'd share it again. That's for the Spooky2 remote, and you can get that by going on this link, https://bit.ly/remote by Dr. SC. If you don't need to put the whole beginning part, just put bit.ly/remote by Dr. SC, and you should be able to get access to that guide. I did actually notice that a number of people said that it was another reason for using Spooky2. So it wasn't that they had used it a little. I gave them options like using it a little, a lot, or other. And quite a few people picked other, and I don't know what other could be. So if you're one of those that picked other, I would love to hear what that meant. Like, how else do you use Spooky2? How frequently do you use it? It was interesting. Anyway, so for coaching, you can email me, and my email address is just at the bottom there, sundas.chohan@gmail.com. If you want to contact me or you want to know what kind of coaching I can offer you and want some more information about that, then you can contact me. I do also want to know what guidance you would need and your level of urgency as well. So just so I know how to prioritize. So please, if you're contacting me, give me that information as well, what guidance you need and the level of urgency, and so that I know what kind of support I can offer to you. But if you have, just sort of inquiries about products, what product to buy, then you can always contact support@spooky2mall.com. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, then this is a QR code to do that. And I'm going to now take your questions. Thank you very much again for paying attention. How to run 24/7 using standalone. How to run presets using standalone. Yeah, there is a whole video on this, on how to do standalone. So you basically have to download the presets onto your generator through the Spooky2 software, and then you can run it standalone. but there's a video on that if you search for it in YouTube. What time are we on? Because I don't have time now. I'm actually in the last 2 or 3 minutes. So I want to get through as many questions as I can. So yeah, you're right, Sarah. I agree with you about toxicity emotions create. How long do you run sessions? It depends on the preset for how long you run it. You have to look at the time that it runs for. Ricardo asks, where's the best place to placed for? So the organ or the area that you want to treat has to be between the TENS pads. So you put the TENS pad flanking each side. I hope that answers the question. Catherine, is a melasma program you will kill. How do you work this out when unclear? Melasma would be, I would use heal for that. Dobrin, internal electrode was too strong to avoid too strong reactions. Okay, well, yeah, if you have recommendations for Spooky2, then or suggestions for them, then you have to contact them because I'm not an employee of Spooky2. So, you know, if you have a recommendation, you need to contact them and tell them. So please do that, Dobrin, with your comment. That'll be great. Sarah, water in a pipe, long-term and plastic is dead. Okay. Right, I'm just trying to see if there's anything. So better to answer that one. Clear negative energies. So Shan is asking me what the Clear Negative Energies program is. That is for emotional, spiritual healing. It's quite a long one. I think it's like 6 hours long. You can try it out and see if it helps you. I've seen it to help, or at least coincide with what I've seen as a positive outcome using it on somebody. So I think it can do something helpful. But some people say that when they use things like negative energy clearance programs, then sometimes they can feel like a bit more emotional initially, like, you know, things come to the surface. So yeah, just don't be surprised if that happens to you. So the question about gangrene and diabetes, which combinations and outputs are best for PMF or gangrene and diabetes? Okay, so you know how we said that you need to know how far into the body, how deeply it has to go inside the body. So a cold laser wouldn't go really, really deep inside. So that's when you can figure out what mode to use. If you need something to entrain the body, or do you need it to kill a pathogen that's causing the issue? It's all about the application and what you need that determines what tool you're using. How to set terrain for remote, because there's no choice to choose day 2. Why would you want to choose day 2, 3, 4? But if you want to do that, you can do it. I've mentioned this twice in my previous webinars. You go into, I can't even show you now, but where I'm literally at the end of our time now, but you go into the software, and you know where in the control tab where it says preset and there's a number next to it. So you change that number to whichever sub preset you want it to go to. So if you want it to go to day 4, you can click, for example, preset 4. That might be aligning with day 4 in the protocol, but you can check. So that's how you would do that, unless you have, I mean, ivermectin is going to be clearing out parasites from your body, so that's effectively detoxing you. So if you then do Spooky2 when you're detoxing more and it becomes too much, then just pause it, slow it down. Spooky2 is effective in the lowest voltage as it is in the using the higher voltage. Well, it's going to be less effective in the lower voltage than the higher voltage. If you use the lowest setting for detox, do you have to do it several times before you are completely detoxed? Even if you do it in the higher settings, then you still have to detox several times, most likely, before you are effectively detoxed, but you might not necessarily need to do them all in a row, one after the other. So I would, yeah, I wouldn't do them one after the other. I would take breaks, like do terrain once a month, for example, at most. Can I do cold laser the whole night through, or is it too much? Cold laser. That sounds like too much. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Don't use cold laser for so long. Contact mulch are not supposed to be run for too long, about 2 hours max, I would say, for for these. And some people use cold laser for even less time, like 4 to 5 minutes max. How do you know if it's enough to choose, for instance, diabetes under presets? Danger not. I don't understand. How do I get my color lemon to repeat indefinitely? To make a program repeat, you have to change repeat chain to 0. Can this be used for some kidney transplants? Oh, not sure. Kidney transplant, it sounds like you need to discuss this with your doctor. Any answer for my question, please? Yeah, we've already discussed that one. Are these presets safe? Okay, lots of question about kidneys and metal again. If you're doing treatment via contact, you've all just asked more questions, haven't you? Okay, let's see. Tens via Can you interrupt or pause a preset? Yes, you can by clicking pause in the control tab, then you can pause a preset. Mandy, I hope that answers. In the control tab, yeah, you'll find a pause button after you click start. You can click pause and it will pause. Okay, great. I think I've answered all the main ones. If you're asking about he, we, Jennifer, please contact Spooky2. I don't have that equipment, so I can't answer the question. We have an hour. Okay, right. Sorry, I've run over time. I'll have to stop here, but I think I've answered all the main ones. If you have any questions, then any questions that I've not answered, either email me or contact Spooky2. Or if you feel that you need coaching, if you want me to like help show you how to set things up one-to-one, then you can contact me and we can arrange that. And hopefully I can answer your questions as well if there's something specific you want me to help you with. But I would need to know in the email that you reach out to me on for what guidance you need and the level of urgency of it. And then I will reply to you accordingly. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. And we're now ending this webinar. Okay. Yeah. Mhm. Okay, fantastic. Oops.